they're trying to participate just yet, but I was gonna see if you can use that link. I think I sent it to you twice, but I'm not sure.
Sign is out there up and lit.
It's lit.
Did you see that?
It's lit nicely.
See our sign? Stand up and just look over.
Dr. Wade is in the house.
Yeah.
All right, I tried accepting you on
Right.
Zoom, but
What?
I tried accepting you on Zoom. Do you want me to just kick you out on Zoom or?
Yeah, I'm not back there
Okay,
on that computer. So,
How do you? Okay, remove. Okay, just remove. Okay.
we're going to be
All right.
getting ready. Is somebody else back there, Lisa, that I need to go work on?
Huh?
Yeah, I
Oh.
think I've got somebody. Why don't you
Yeah.
come over and you can have a seat by Justin here, if you don't mind, or right there.
All right.
And,
You going to use your phone for like facial, or do you want me to just
this
mount
is,
it?
I'm actually on Facebook now.
Okay.
Facebook. We're gonna start in about 10 minutes, so I wanted to go ahead and just, leave it
Intro.
in there.
Okay. If you want me to mount, I can. I'm just saying.
Yeah, go ahead and mount it. Now you can turn it around and flip the thing back.
Got
I've
it.
gotta get this prepped. I didn't know if we'd need
All right.
this. You can take
That's
that
fine.
out. I
got
can.
it. How you doing tonight?
Mhm.
I was asking your
Okay.
patient how he's doing. Yeah.
I may have had the thing a bit tight.
What's that?
I think the machine was a bit tight around my neck
Was it?
because
Will make it a little sore?
Leah,
Yeah.
good evening. Welcome to
Quite-
Facebook.
part of it sore.
Leah Wade.
I got one more patient I'm gonna go work on. I'll be right
Okay.
back.
All right, I'll try to keep your
This-
people
This is what we're
entertained.
gonna be talking about. Let people know about what we got going on.
Okay.
Appreciate you being here. I'll be back in just a sec.
All right. If you guys are now watching, please stand by. We got about 8 minutes before we start our webinar. We're just trying to be sure that audio and video are coming in pretty good. Billy Bailey, welcome to the live stream. How are you doing? Welcome to tonight's live stream. So if you guys want to grab yourself a drink or a quick snack, we got about 8 minutes before we go in full swing here. We're just making sure that audio and video are coming. If you guys can give us an audio test on Facebook, let us know that everything's working okay. I'd appreciate that. I'm just making sure everything's working okay. Real quick, maybe everything looks good over here right now.
Okay,
So
all
I'm
right.
just do a
Are we
check.
on right now with
We are
Facebook
live
still?
on Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube. I just want to be sure everything looks good back there. at the
All right.
station.
Can
Just
you,
so
can
you
you,
know, there's somebody coming in at 6:45 to do a drug test too, so they'll be coming through that door. Hopefully, I told you to be doing a workshop at that time.
well, that's fine, we'll be all right, we'll make it work, I mean, it'll be fine. Go ahead and check on, can you do me a favor and tell me
Your range?
how I'm framed up? If
Yeah,
I need to
absolutely.
sit or get a stool?
Yeah, you are pretty good
So
over
I was
here.
thinking about getting a stool and sort of sitting.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
that
let me
way-
grab one, and I'll
okay,
be
sure.
right back.
Okay. I'll just be real quick.
Alrighty. There we go.
Everything's good. I shared it also on Twitter as well to see if I can show some people from that platform to jump in on the YouTube side.
Okay.
Because I didn't have the
Well, I wanted to
Facebook.
make sure people will be able to see the reading on the flip chart here.
All right.
So, give me a heads up on the time, is it almost 6:30?
We currently have 6:27 right now.
All right, so, good evening, everybody. We're gonna be starting with the workshop at 6:30. I appreciate your coming. Appreciate y'all tuning in and being part of this workshop with us. We doing this on Facebook Live, we're doing it on YouTube, I think Instagram, we've got live in the office. We love to have you come into the office and kind of tune into what we're doing. Today is my wife Lisa and I's 24th wedding anniversary today. Yeah, 24 years today, November 8th, 1998. So, I love her more today than I think I did the day we got married. And so, she's special. She's the boss up here at the office. She's up here behind this counter behind me. And you're able to
I'm good.
you're good?
I was just making sure that I can see you and that platform
Okay,
for
yeah.
Facebook. So we're good.
So, one of the things that I was excited about this past weekend, Lisa and I went up to, come in, Miss Candy. Have a seat over here, sweetie. Okay, there you go. Thank you, ma'am. Looks good. All right, thank you very much. So, I was just mentioning that today is Lisa and my 24th wedding anniversary is today. Thank you so much, I appreciate that. We went to the Biltmore this past weekend up in North Carolina, and on the way back, I participated in a 2-day workshop on primary spine care. It's one of my credentialed specialties, primary spine care and spine trauma. And this was Primary Spine Care Conference number 13, and it was really interesting. During the time of the conference on Saturday when we were back, they stopped for a second. We're gonna have some special awards, and they recognized me as a part of the group, very small group of people that had gone through extensive credentialing. And he said, so now you've been nationally recognized, because this was a group of people from all over the country. The recognition was on the credentials and basically my resume, and the fact that we've been certified in primary spine care for some time now, and that there's actually only 2 of us in Alabama that are certified in spine trauma. There's a Dr. Adam Shaffron, which is up in Huntsville, and myself here in Calhoun County. And I've been practicing here since 1984. And this coming March will have completed my 39th year in practice. And so I figured I'd probably only got another 21 years to go.
Wellness
So-
200, right?
Well, you know, I feel good. And we all have our ups and downs at times, but I've made some modifications on my diet. We may talk about a few things, but I was just really going to talk about, and I think it's time to get started.
We got, let me just check the time real quick. We are,
It's a
yeah,
6:30.
6:30 on the
All
dot.
right, so here we go. So we're going to talk about chiropractic, which is a modern approach to health, and we're going to talk about some concepts as we go. So the purpose of tonight's workshop is to share some facts with you concerning health and chiropractic. We do this to help assist you in making decisions that would support an optimal state of health, and also so that you can educate others. So one of my passions is helping educate this community and change the focus of the health of our community. And so one of the big things that we have to do is be able to be willing to share the hope. You've been able to receive some hope of improvement. You're making some progress. You're just now getting started. So I appreciate the opportunity to work with you both, but it's important that you understand some of the basic principles, because there's a lot of alternative ideas about health that's bombarding us daily from the media about what health really is or what health really isn't. So let's go right on into it and jump right in. So here's some of the commonly assumed stages of illness. And so y'all kind of follow along with me, and we're going to talk a little bit about this. So normally, stage 1, at birth, we're relatively healthy. Consider, you know, barring birth defects or some genetic malformation, would you all agree that we're pretty much healthy at birth? Okay?
Yeah.
Well then, as we go along through time, stage 2 begins, and we start developing mild, normal aches and pains. I had somebody come in today that, one of our babies that's a patient up here, they were talking about growth pains. You know, have you ever heard that term? You know, growing pains? Okay. So I'm like, you know, so we're going to talk about this. So then after this one, the normal mild aches and pains becomes overall fatigue and loss of vitality. You start kind of going downhill. And then on stage 4, you start having periodic symptoms and a greater loss of well-being. Would you all agree that's sort of the progression that we commonly assume that happens? So then the end stage is we have these acute symptoms and diseases now finally developing, right? So those are the ideas of what we have. So let's sort of repeat that. Theory 1 is that symptoms are the first sign that a person's not healthy. You start feeling poorly. Then a person should go to the doctor in accordance with their symptoms. You hurt, you go. You don't hurt, you don't go, right? That's kind of how we believe generally. So the cause of the problem then is found by exploring the symptoms. You investigate the symptoms, you look at the symptoms, you come up with a diagnosis of the symptoms, and then basically you begin to treat the symptoms. So to help restore health, you work towards removing the symptoms. Is that how we commonly think in terms of health? And then the last theory is the doctor's job is to remove your symptoms because your body is now unable to heal itself. So those are the progressions of what we commonly assume are the steps and stages of disease that develop over time. Now, let's talk about some facts about the body. Specifically, let's talk about the spine and the nervous system. Your spine consists of 24 movable bones. They have little openings like doorways between each one. There's a cushion called a disc between each of the vertebrae. The signals translate down the central nervous system from the brain through a spinal canal, and then through these open doorways, there's 24 pairs of these nerves that extensively broadcast out to the entire body. And that's basically how the nervous system works. Interesting fact is that when a baby is developing in the womb of a mother at approximately 3 weeks of age, the nervous system is actually already formed. Pretty amazing. 6 weeks of age, the heart and circulation begins to develop. Now, I think that's significant in the fact that the nervous system is the first system to develop, because as it carries that life and vitality out, it's what controls and coordinates all of the development and the growth of that baby in the womb of the mother. Interesting concept. Now, in our office, we focus and treat something that we've talked about called a vertebral subluxation. Essentially, what that is a misalignment that begins to put pressure and chokes down on the nerve. It affects the flow and energy distribution. It slows down or weakens the signal, and even a minor misalignment of the bone can actually bring on a subluxation and cause nerve interference and ultimately loss of function. The researchers back in the mid-80s talked about very light pressure, about the weight of a dime, which is barely enough pressure to feel touching your eyeball, that would actually reduce the signal of the nerve by up to 60%. Light pressure, significant reduction in flow. So what we find is that people that have subluxations, interestingly enough, depending on the nerve distribution, can have a variety of presentations. One of the things that it can cause is back pain. Another one would be neck pain. Another one would be your digestion doesn't work. Here's an interesting one here. Another one is no symptoms. So interesting, that you can have a subluxation and not even have any symptoms whatsoever. So that's kind of a concern. It kind of puts subluxations in the same ballpark as heart disease and cancer. You can have a problem, not know it until it's too late. Heart attack or cancer spread all over the body. Now, there are many causes of subluxations. I usually use the term the 3 T's. They deal with traumas, toxins, and thoughts. The first subluxation is the birth process. Even a healthy delivery, they take the head, it's kind of like a can opener. They kind of pull down and turn, and once they get that first shoulder through the birth canal, and then they have to turn down and pull the other direction, it's not uncommon to pull about 40 pounds, according to the research, about 40 pounds of pull. And I've experienced this, dealing with med school, going through some deliveries. You like them to come easy, but they don't always do that. And so it's not uncommon for the doctor to have to pull pretty heavy. Sometimes they use forceps, the baby gets stuck. Sometimes they use a vacuum pump that pulls them out. You'll see those little cone-headed babies developing. Sometimes they call it what they call a hematoma, like a big bruised area on the brain. It's not uncommon to actually crack a collarbone in a normal delivery, so there's not much pressure. But other things like whiplash and sports injuries and excessive sitting and your diet can cause subluxations from a toxicity standpoint. Insufficient nutrients, too much toxins in the foods that we eat. The occupational hazards, a lack of exercise, and even emotional pressures. Those are the thought process. So I say traumas, toxins, and thoughts are the 3 culprits of stress that bring on the subluxation process. So we talk about gravity even bringing on stress from sitting in bad posture over time. That's a problem as well. So let's talk about the physical stages of illness that we see in chiropractic. These are ones more that I would subscribe to. And you'll find that's a little different from the beginning in the fact that stage 1, I would say before the birth trauma, yeah, you're probably 100%. But after the birth trauma, and you develop a pull twist subluxation interference and cut down the life force by up to 40 to 60%. Babies can't really tell you how bad they feel. All they can do is cry or whine when they or they become irritable. Little Tarkin, who was 3 months old, born premature, had a spasticity in his neck, constant throwing up of his food. They found that chiropractor heard that chiropractic could help. They brought him up here. He was rigidly stiff, and the therapist was even saying that he might have cerebral palsy. Not a good situation. And they brought him up, and we started working on him, and now he's relaxed and calm and sleeping peacefully, and it's amazing. But before that birth trauma, he was probably healthy, and I don't believe he has cerebral palsy. According to now, they're saying he's meeting all the benchmarks of growth and development. His activities, following things, he's grasping on things, he's starting to raise up, and, he hadn't sat up yet, but he's only at the 4-month mark, born premature. So before the birth trauma, I would say 100% help. Then the vertebral subluxation comes on. Now you have a loss of function. You're losing about 40% because of that structural misalignment. Not a good situation. So then after this, then you have the periodic symptoms. Then after that, you start having a greater loss of well-being. Then after that, you have these consistent or acute symptoms that are diagnosed with a specific condition or a diagnosis that the doctor now treats. So here's the point. You have to be unhealthy to get the symptoms in the first place. This is a divergence from the commonly held beliefs that symptoms are the first sign. They're not. They're not the first sign. So let's talk about that. The symptoms are really the last phase of body dysfunction, not the first. That a person who wants to be and stay healthy should actually see a doctor who can remove the cause of lower resistance before the symptoms develop. Did you know that in ancient China they would pay the doctor to keep you healthy? And if you were, and that way if you were productive and working, he could pay you. But then if you weren't productive, you weren't healthy, and you got sick, he would treat you for free. Because his job was to really keep you healthy. So the cause of the health problems in this situation is found by exploring the source of the body imbalance, not even the symptoms. So when patients come in here wanting to tell me all about their symptoms, I'm like, let's slow down just a second and let's talk about subluxation. I'm afraid that if you start talking about your symptoms, you're going to get misconstrued on the purpose of what our evaluation is about. We want to identify whether or not you have this loss of function that's causing your symptoms. Treating symptoms is the number one reason right now in our country why there are opioid addictions. By treating symptoms. And that's not my opinion, that's opinions by very esteemed neurosurgeons and different groups of people all over the country. Did you know that not too long ago that there were so many opioid deaths in West Virginia that they passed a law that said that you've got to have an alternative to opioids before you can prescribe an opioid? You had to refer somebody to somebody like a chiropractor. And it has radically reduced the opioid deaths in West Virginia as a result of that. Interesting concept. CMS, which is the guideline for Medicare, and Health and Human Services that manages hospitals, require that every doctor's clinic and the hospital have an organized protocol in place to avoid prescribing opioids. And if they don't, they can lose money from the government, reimbursement programs.
What time are you going till?
What's that?
What time are you going till?
I'm going till 6:30. How much
Right.
time?
6:30, it's 6:42. You mean 7
I'm
o'clock?
7 o'clock. Yeah,
Okay,
so
yeah.
we're over at
Okay,
7.
just check.
We start at 6:30, we're over at 7.
Okay.
Okay. What, and 7:40?
6:42 right
Okay.
now.
So we're getting close to the end. So here's the deal. To help restore health and maintain health, you have to work towards preventing and removing the vertebral subluxations. I've been telling people today, really more actively, that I can't fix your problem until I can help you even begin to feel better. Because while you're hurting, your body's so reactively, reflexively tensing back up that I can't change anything. I can't change your alignment. I can't reduce the subluxation until you begin to have a reduction in symptoms. So you're just now getting to the place where we can start uncoiling your spine. You're feeling better. And we've been working on trying to do just that, loosening you up. Same with you. Right now you're tight, just moving it makes it a little sore even, right? So we want to be able to do that. So here's the thing. The doctor's job is to prevent and correct illness by removing the cause. Healthy people don't get sick. And the doctor's job is to keep you that way. That's what we try to do here in our office. So that's pretty much the end of the workshop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's a philosophical variant in paradigm of thought, getting away from the treatment of symptoms, and let's focus on treating the problem. So our beginning stages of care, and we'll repeat what you and I have already talked about, is we want to loosen you up and reduce the inflammation and get you feeling better. Because after that inflammation begins to go down and you start feeling better, then we can actually begin to unwind the spine and reestablish the correct contours and proper alignment and mobility, and work on balancing the body and fix the bottom line problem. And that's really becomes the focus. So here's the pre-warning, is that you can easily go back into that first progression of theories, that symptoms are the first sign of a problem. So you would naturally think when the symptoms go away, I'm well, right? But that's not really always or usually even what happens. We focus on treating the cause of the problem. Now, what I have found, and what really prompted me to kind of get more motivated to get back even in starting back and doing our workshops, is that when I was in Atlanta last fall at a conference, I heard a Jewish research scientist talking about something that he called the global burden of disease. And he was talking about things like heart disease and the negative effects of managing heart disease over time. And he was talking about COVID and the negative effect of long hauler syndrome and managing those things. He was talking about diabetes and digestive difficulties and problems that people are constantly having to take medications for. Autoimmune disorders, breakdowns that commonly somebody like a rheumatologist would have to take care of. Fibromyalgia, Crohn's disease, irritable bowel syndrome, all these different things like lupus and some of these other crazy conditions. He termed in the class of the global burden of disease, meaning that these problems are typically not cured, they're managed over time. And he said what causes a reduction in the burden of disease globally was a better brain-body connection, improving the strength and speed of the signal from the brain to the body, specifically on cranial nerve number 10, which is the vagus nerve, which can be measured through something called heart rate variability. And so his extensive research had been in collaboration with researchers not only in Israel, but in Great Britain, Canada, the United States, Japan, and all of them have been kind of going together and talking about heart rate variability, measuring this output signal of the brain to the body, making sure the body was operating more at a peak. And he said if you had better brain-body connection, you had a reduction in this burden of disease, the global burden. And it kind of got to thinking about it. I'd never heard the term. I had to write it down 3 or 4 times. Global burden of disease. I thought, wow, I've known that chiropractic can help people for all my career. But it didn't really hit me until he slapped me upside the head with this information and the fact that, I've always wanted to change the health of our community. But looking back on the fact I've been in practice almost 39 years and I've done a really bad job, a poor job, in my opinion. Now, I have to admit, I've had some positive influence and there's been episodes of improvement. If you think about what we have right here in Calhoun County, 6 dialysis centers. Is that okay? People earn the right to have that, to need dialysis, to have kidney failure where they have to have dialysis to live and survive. Is that mean that we're making good decisions and we're having a positive influence when we had to open yet another? You got Jacksonville, Noble Street, up the North Quintard one, the one off of East Anniston. You got one in each hospital. You got one in Oxford. I mean, there's like 6 right here. Yeah, and then of course you got it all over, right? Because and I think you would think, and I would think that we have health that's really an above down, inside out process, and innately God's designed our bodies to heal itself. And here we are right in the middle of the Bible Belt. You would think that we ought to be the healthiest group of people in the country, but we're not. And I've done a very poor job in educating people about these theory transition of thought to help begin to bring people away from the focus of symptoms and get them focusing on the cause of the dang problem. So I've decided to radically change my approach. Used to, if you've been around any length of time, you've probably seen me out doing health fairs and screenings and going to different places and anytime there was a group of people that would gather together, I used to think I could influence people, but I can't. I haven't been able to do that. So I've decided to change my approach. And what I've decided to do is to be totally intent on helping you and you and you get to exactly where you need to be, so that you're feeling better, you have more energy, more vitality, and you're functioning better. And then that's going to give you the impetus, hopefully, to share that same hope with people that are out in the community and say, hey, he's helped you, maybe there's hope for you too. He's helped me, maybe there's hope for you too. And so that's kind of the approach that we want to take. It's a different approach. It's still focusing on what I've always learned and done, but I feel now with the credentials that look, my first degree was engineering. So when I start talking about mechanical failure, head translation, coupled motion, torquing of the spine, and I know I'm all over that. We started focusing on a kind of a new technique. I'm actually going in a couple of weeks to another workshop on called Chiropractic Biophysics. It's dealing with the torquing and the shifting of the spine and specific techniques on how to untorque and unshift the spine in a correct manner. And we're making some really phenomenal changes with people. And we'll look at your posture in a minute, and we should be able to see like some differences in how you're standing in the short period of time that we've been working. So those are things that are important to me. And so I feel, after the engineering and the chiropractic biophysics concepts, I've been a chiropractor for going on 39 years. I went to, you can go on through, buddy. I've been to med school. I graduated in 2018. I graduated. My daughter, who went to med school with me, has completed her residency now. Truthfully, I was probably too old to go in the first place, and they don't normally let older students into residency. So my wife and I talked and agreed that instead of trying to leave again, and when I first left to go to med school, I had plenty of support with other doctors helping me, but by the time I came back, all the support had waned and it was just me. So my wife looked at me and she said, you can't leave again. Too many people depend on me. And she was absolutely correct. So we decided to buy this practice here. Used to be Burgess Chiropractic. This building has been a chiropractic office for well over 40 years. Before I graduated in 1983, they were already here, had been working for several years in this location. And unfortunately, Dr. Burgess, who's a great chiropractor, had a stroke, and he helped a lot of people over the years. And he basically couldn't practice any longer. And we were fortunate to be able to work it out, to buy the property. And so my wife and I moved up here back in just before COVID hit. And we've been here and started our practice right in 2020. Here again, reformed it and re-engaged with practicing in a beautiful facility that's wide open, and it's nice. I like it. I love it. I've always loved this building. I thought it was ahead of its time, 40 years ago. And so I'm excited about being here and being able to be a help to other people. And all I'm looking for is an opportunity to be of service to you and you and you. Now, I think our time's up. Do y'all have any questions about anything? Anything that I haven't touched on that you'd like to hear about? If you are out there on Zoom call or Facebook Live and you have a question, just go ahead and type it in. Justin's the administrator, so he's not seeing any questions. Hopefully I've done a good job and nobody wants to answer questions. I like to finish this early if we can. That way y'all can go on home, and I think you should be scheduled for your next appointment already. And the other gentleman that's here, we do a lot of DOT and drug screenings and blood alcohol testing and pre-employment evaluations and occupational medical services. I'm a certified FMCSA DOT examiner for DOT drivers, commercial drivers that need to have a certified exam. We do a lot of that. along with my chiropractic part of the practice as well. You can find us on YouTube for Anniston Chiropractic, but we're also creating another channel called Truckers Health and Wellness, focusing on truck drivers, commercial drivers. We have a TikTok channel for DOT driver, something.
DOT examiner.
DOT examiner. We have a Facebook group, private group. You go to facebook.com/groups/Dr. Wade, and it's a private group, and you have to request joining, and of course I'd let you in. But we have a lot of articles and information and videos that I post, all kinds of things about exercises and special recipes and just different things that I've learned over the years, and I've written a lot of blogs on different topics. They're all loaded in on all those things, so we have a lot of information every Tuesday night, and I'm going to invite you here watching live next Tuesday. Come live if you want to be with us, but tune in through Zoom or YouTube, either one. You're welcome to come every single Tuesday. I do require, usually your first month in practice, that you try to come to at least 2 of the workshops, and we won't talk about the same thing next time. We've not talked about this yet. You've been helping me with this for a couple of months now.
Yeah, it's been 2 months now.
Yeah,
actually,
so I may cycle through some of them again eventually, but every week it's something different, and I try to make it, I don't really have a specific script. I just like talk. And there's so much in my head, I wish I could just brain dump it, but it doesn't work that way. So I have to, and here's something I've told and I may have told you this already, is that I believe that what I can teach you long-term has more value to you than what I can do to help you feel better short-term. So it's important, and then, we talked about there's like 3 main things that are requirements to be a patient. The first one is you gotta get better. Gotta get better.
Yep.
Number 2 is it's imperative that you understand more about the body and how it works and the functioning and principles of healthy living. That's going to keep you healthy for a longer period of time. That's important. It's vital. And the third requirement is, especially as we start getting into the rehabilitative exercises and some of the stretches and things that are more active care, that I've got to count on you to do your part. And you've been good about doing some of those things, and we'll go more into detail. You're just now getting started, so we'll go more into detail about things you need to focus on. But right now, the first part of the treatment is loosening things up, getting things moving better, getting the inflammation down, and helping you feel better so that we can begin the process of making changes to your structure. So, thank you again for hosting the meeting through Zoom and Facebook Live. Thank you all for coming. We're going to go ahead and close it out maybe a minute early and see if there's we'll be back again next Tuesday at 6:30 to 7. Sometimes I finish 10 minutes early, sometimes I don't think I've ever gone over yet.
Once. Yeah.
But not long over, was it?
Half an hour.
I went over a half an hour.
We were in
my-
for an hour, actually, I remember.
Oh
yeah.
my goodness, I was fired up. I'm sorry. You gotta cut me off at 30 minutes. I could talk forever. So, thank you. I appreciate you coming. I want to acknowledge your presence and tell you how much I appreciate you. Every time you come and I see your name on the schedule, I get excited because I just enjoy working with you. I know that you're committed to your health. I know we're going to really be able to help you, and it excites me to know that. And same with you, man. I'm telling you, it's great. All right, so that's the end. You can go ahead and turn this off, and that's the end of my talk.
All right. Anybody that's still watching, please be sure to leave a like, comment, follow, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon notifications for future videos. Until
Thank you
next
so
time,
much.
have a good night.
Now, I'm gonna need to get at least
All right, well, there we go. Did any of that make sense?